Hello there, I'm the student, and in this video I'm going to show you how every single country in the world can actually become an army-based country and therefore is not even required to have a single location to exist still in the game, because an army-based country exists as long as you have an army. And of course, that unlocks the very special government reform of a conquistador country for every Catholic nation that becomes an army-based country, which is totally broken because you can literally auto-conquer provinces with that reform. But anyway, let's just start into the explanation how that is even possible. And you can see already I am playing on the current version 1.13 beta Rosbach update. And yeah, actually I'm going to show you that with the, in my opinion, most ridiculous nation to show that off with, which is of course the Papal State, to become a true battle pope. Of course, you can see right now, if we start, we are a settled country, and you can see that there are three different types of countries: pop-based countries, building-based countries, and army-based countries that are accept for this, settled country type, which is most of the countries, of course. And if we have a look on the, building base, for example, you can see this is basically the banking nations, the Hansa. And then if we have a look on the army-based countries, then you can see that in the beginning of the game, this is basically only the hordes, or every horde that exists in the game. No one else, also none of the countries in the New World, are army-based from the beginning of the game. And you can't change that except with this trick that I'm about to show you. So let's just start in. Okay, now, first of all, the Pope is actually a pretty interesting example for that, because the Pope literally doesn't need any, provinces to actually have a running economy. So what you can just do is you can just have a running economy and basically play a building-based Papal State. Even though you are technically army-based, you just need to have one army based in one of your subject provinces. There's no problem whatsoever. And what you basically need to do for that, to set that up, is you need actually some manpower. Now, or a regular army for that matter. Now, actually, as we have a lot of gold, I'm actually going to do that with mercenaries now, because, setting up a quite decent manpower army, of course, takes a lot of manpower, which we don't have right now. But as I said, we have money, so we are going to do that with the mercenaries in this case. As the Papal States, you have your capital in Avignon, which is of course going to be the last province that they're going to have before becoming the army-based country. And therefore I'm going to recruit the mercenaries right here. And of course I can, whenever I want, just, as you can see, extend the mercenaries for as long as I want, right? As I said, we have money, like, it's not even 2 months of income to, extend that for another 2 years, I think. Yeah, but anyways, next thing I want to do is I want to actually give away all of my land. Of course, this hurts a bit, you might say, but in terms of income, you can see literally everything right now, everything of my income is coming from the Catholic Church anyways. So yeah, why would I care about Rome over here? Being 0% proximity and 40% control with 0.79 taxes, right? So I'm just going to give all of that away to one of my subjects, historical subject of Spoleto, why not? Make it a vassal. There we go. And now I'm actually going to grant them the rest of the provinces over here. That's the thing. And Rome itself. Which means that right now I have only 2 available locations. So I have to actually get rid of that one location isolated in Naples as well. Apparently I can't get rid of that, so I guess I have to actually sell that to them. There we go. They would probably even give me some money for that. Yeah, that's it. So now you notice I actually have only one single location left, and that is of course what I want. The next important thing that I need to do is to actually basically lose that one last province as well. Now, if I lose that through a war, for example, then that would of course result in a game over. But there is of course another way to lose one of your provinces, which is with a rebellion. Now, in this case, the rebellion actually needs to happen with the clergy. And that is because the clergy is basically the main power in my country, right? So if I just take one privilege of them, which is this one, for example, then, yeah, they are, of course, going to be super disloyal. As you can see, 70%. And that should now actually trigger a rebellion from them. Yes, there we go. Because I'm a theocracy. Of course, if you start as any monarchy and do the same thing, then you need to make your nobility disloyal, because then they will start the rebellion and so on. So now it's actually very close to being done, basically, the entire trick. You're going to see in a second how exactly. But yeah, basically now I would always recommend, if you do that, to actually choose the diplomatic focus, because yeah, most of that administrative stuff doesn't matter at all, because you don't have any land basically, or you know, you don't rely on land that much. And the interesting thing is that the March subject type that you unlock over here is actually the most important thing if you build an army-based country without any land, which is of course the ideal scenario, right? To just play with an army. You need your subjects to be marches, because they are a very generic subject that you can create everywhere, where you can actually build ships and regiments in your subjects' location. So you literally don't need any provinces yourself. You can recruit mercenaries, for example, also in your subject territory. And very interesting, you can actually still scutage the March subject type, so that they don't join your wars. So you're literally invincible. No one can siege you because you don't have any land, and you can, whenever you want, recruit mercenaries, get your war goal set up by just, you know, fighting on the enemy territory. You have nothing to lose. Therefore, I would definitely recommend you to go for the diplomatic focus over here. But now the interesting part happens. So first of all, you can already see I spent a lot of my money to build trade offices, which I can just build in Naples because I've got a good opinion with them. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. But basically what I want to do with that is I want to build up basically a small population that works for me beyond the actual province that I have left. Anyways, now what I want to do is, apparently, of course, I missed the point where the mercenaries stopped existing. So I have to actually recruit new mercenaries now, which is kind of annoying. But let's just do that real quick. Let's just get these guys. They are a bit expensive, but whatever, right? I'm going to delete my castle here as well. And now you're going to notice that literally on the next month, the clergy is actually going to revolt and break out a proper civil war, because you can see they are a minor revolt over here, the burghers, but the clergy has enough power to actually start a civil war. And as I just have one province left, they are going to start that civil war in my last province. So let's just see how that actually goes. And let's try to move over. I got military and food access on them to just demonstrate that better. Now you're going to notice on the month tick that a civil war is going to break out. There we go, a civil war with the Roman clergy, as you can see. And as I told you, they would take my last location basically, because it's my last location, and they will start a civil war, of course, right? Now you notice I'm not game over yet. And that is even though I actually have 0 locations. And the reason for that is very, very simple. As you can see right now, I am an army-based country. A country that can own locations, but doesn't have to, because its existence is relying entirely on its armies. If those are destroyed, then the country collapses. Which, by the way, means that I can also, by the way, raise levies while I'm at peace, for example. And, of course, it means that I have to have at least one army. It can have 0 soldiers in it, but I need to have at least one army the entire time. Otherwise, I'm basically game over, right? But now, let's actually finish the civil war and take back my locations, because basically I don't care about the locations. I could give that away if I wanted to in a war later. But I need to finish the civil war, because otherwise I'm never going to end the civil war, right? So I'm just going to siege my former capital down. Yeah, whatever, doesn't matter. Yeah. Therefore, victory over the rebels. I now own my last province again, which, by the way, didn't change anything to my subjects. They are still my subjects, as you can see. And yeah, you can see I was at 300 pops without that location. But now, of course, I got them back. But still, even though I got my province back now, I'm still an army-based country, because that never changes except for this one opportunity to actually lose basically your last province while still having a standing army in a civil war. Very important, because the idea of a civil war is that you could still win that if you had an army, even if you lost all of your provinces temporarily. That now literally makes you the true battle pope, an army-based papal states. And by the way, another very interesting thing is, of course, I never lost my clergy, which is because, as I said, I had that one mission over there in Huan. If you actually get rid of that in the event, then actually you would also get rid of all of the clergy privileges at once. But you can see, as I temporarily lost all of my nobility and my commoners, which, by the way, I of course gave them all of the privileges I could because I wanted to get the satisfaction down, right? All of these privileges are gone now. Gone entirely, okay? So actually you could literally use this mechanic to get rid of all of your estate privileges at once with just this one single mechanic. You could even do that as a bigger nation such as Milan or something. Delete all your force and then actually try to just let the civil war rebels siege all of your country. And then once you lost all of your territory, you will be an army-based country. And then you take it all back. You're basically back with the, starting position, but without any of the privileges that you got at the beginning of the game, which is quite OP on its own. But another very interesting thing is that now that you are an army-based country, you actually have a lot of new government reforms available, basically, which, as I said, if I didn't have the major reform locked, then I could literally become a conquistador expedition country, and therefore a conquistador country that can auto-conquer religious enemies everywhere and being blocked from peace, which is a very interesting scenario if you start, on the border with religious enemies, basically. And on top of that, very interesting is you could basically migrate wherever you want in the entire world, okay? So what you could do is you can actually black flag your army by, for example, putting your troops on a ship or something and then moving them to some port where you have fleet basing access but no military access, which will basically then black flag your armies over there. And then you can just walk with your army around like somewhere, I don't know, up to Delhi over here or something, lose your last province in a war, for example, and then just declare war on someone like this guys or something. Of course, you would need to unblack flag your army somehow, but basically what you could do is you could just walk around with your army somewhere. You could walk with that black flagged army up north to Norway and you would literally be invincible, okay? No one could do anything to you. And if that were a regular army with 0 troops in it, it doesn't matter. You would still be always alive because you always have that one army existing. and no one could touch you because it's black flagged. You were basically a building-based country at that point that could get provinces if you wanted for some time. So for example, you could fight Castile, take Sevilla and sell that back to them later. Of course, it would be one of the provinces would become your capital at some point. But yeah, very interesting mechanic in my opinion. And the best example for that would probably in a real game, of course, being the Battle Pope is quite a meme in itself, but a realistic scenario for that would actually be to play as the Knights Hospitaller or as the Teutonic Order that way, because they have the very special ability to gain an insane amount of manpower. Let's just show that to you in Paris, for example. They have these very special buildings of Order Commandery, which is actually giving them a lot of manpower and money. And they can actually get a lot of money by getting a special interaction to ask for military support of a holy order, basically. And they can do that with all the big nations and basically become an army-based crusader state. And the best part about that is, you can literally do that as any other country as well. So what you could do, for example, you could be England, starting as England, lose all your provinces, become an army-based country, then switch your government type to a theocracy and take the military order reform and to then become an army-based military crusader order of England. Okay, and I think in my opinion this opens up so many opportunities for so many unique game styles that I would really be interested what happens, what you would do with this insane strategy. So let me know in the comments because I'm really interested to see that, and we are going to see as always on another Monday.